Information, please. Wake up, America. Time to stump the experts. This is the program in which, you remember, the dust bites the Indian. Send us questions with the right answers. 4 experts guarantee to answer them correctly or pay you $5 for every question that stumps them. Each question accepted wins you $2. Our master of ceremonies is Clifton Fadiman, literary critic of the New Yorker magazine. Mr. Fadiman.
Thank you, Mr. Croft. And good evening, everybody. We have a very neat assortment of experts this evening. John Kieran, sports columnist of the New York Times, has recovered from his recent bird calling, although the birds haven't, and is with us again, together with his sidekick, Franklin P. Adams, humorist of the New York Post. Known to radio audiences from coast to coast is the famous and genial tune detective and musical expert, Sigmund Spaeth, author of The Common Sense of Music and Read 'em and Weep. And to complete the team and lend it a touch of glamour, we're not so good on glamour usually, we have tonight, through the courtesy of Paramount Pictures, Basil Rathbone, stage star, screen star, opening tonight in the motion picture If I Were King. Now, gentlemen, the simple rules are the following. I'll put the question to the entire board. If you know the answer, raise your hand. A question composed of no more than 2 parts must be answered by 1 man. But if it has more parts than that, the board may cooperate. If any part is answered wrong, we lose $5. When you hear that cash register ring, that means the questioner is getting his $5. Finally, ladies and gentlemen, remember that Information Please is an unrehearsed, unforeseeable, and perfectly catch-as-catch-can program. Okay, gentlemen, catch. Here's the first one. For Miss Priscilla T. Campbell of Worcester, Mass. Give the traditional remark or cliché made under the following circumstances. I'll give you an example. Suppose one has had a succession of mishaps, of misfortunes. The comment might be, it never rains, but it pours. Well, similarly, I'm going to read 5 of these, and you have to provide the proper platitudinous remarks. You have to get 4 out of 5. What remark would be made by a friend during a hot summer spell of weather? Mr. Spaeth.
Is it hot enough for you?
That would be all right. How about another one? Mr. Adams?
It's the humidity.
Yes, it isn't the heat, it's the humidity. Very good. I don't know why Miss Campbell calls that a friend. By a father spanking his son. A father spanking his son. Mr. Rathbone.
I only do this because it hurts me, not you.
Yes, that is approximately the classic form of that lovely phrase. This hurts me more than it hurts you, I think is what the father usually says. Don't you remember that? 3. A skeptical girl's response to a flatterer. A skeptical girl's response to a flatterer. Mr. Kieran.
Oh, you tell that to all the boys.
Well, not the boys.
Well, the girls.
Yes,
As
yes.
the case may be.
It's common error. By a man warned against drinking too much. A man warned against drinking too much. Mr. Spaeth.
I can take it or leave it alone.
That's absolutely correct. Although I think this hurts me more than it hurts you might do for that one, too, as a matter of fact.
I wouldn't admit that.
You're in a stubborn mood this evening, Mr. Spaeth. By a girl rejecting a suitor. By a girl rejecting a suitor. Mr. Adams.
I will be a sister to you.
Very good. Mr. Adams, didn't you invent a character who dealt entirely in cliches a long time ago?
Oh, I suppose so.
And who was it, Mr. Adams?
Dulcinea.
Dulce, or Dulce as we got to call it.
I called her that for short.
See, it didn't take very long to get that information out of Mr. Adams. Second question, from Edith Brillich of Sunnyside, Long Island. What classical compositions are suggested by the following popular songs? There are 4 of them, and we have to get 3 out of 4, and they're going to be played by the pianist after I name the titles. 1. Is that clear? What popular compositions are suggested by the following popular songs? What classical compositions? I beg your pardon. 1. My Baby's Arms. Mr. Spaeth.
The Cavatina by Ruff.
That's what I have here. It must be right. 2. Sweetheart. Mr. Spaeth again.
Song to the Evening Star from Tannhäuser.
Gosh, that's pretty good. All right. That's correct. The Rose of No Man's Land. Mr. Spaeth again.
The Minuet of Beethoven in G.
That's correct again. This is getting monotonous. The Masquerade. All right, Mr. Spaeth.
César Franck Symphony.
In D minor. Very good.
It's the only one he wrote.
Mr. Spaeth, how do you get to know these things? Is there any secret to it?
I write books about them.
Oh, and you read your own books afterwards?
No, I read my proofs.
Oh, you read your proof.
He probably writes popular songs.
I will someday.
Third, this is from Mary G. Seiberling of Akron, Ohio. Oh, this is about Mr. Adams' favorite author, who's back again on information, please. This is from Shakespeare. You're asked to answer each of the following questions with an appropriate quotation from Shakespeare. For instance, what would you say to a long-winded bore? This is off the record. What would you say, Mr. Rathbone, to a long-winded bore from Shakespeare? Could you think of one? Mr. Kieran?
Here will be an old abusing of God's patience and the king's English.
Say, that's very good. That's not the one I have down here.
No, but it's from a good play.
Yes, I'm sure it is. Well, that was just a sample. Brevity is the soul of wit might do, might it not? Well, now, here we are. We have 5 of them, and I think I'm going to ask you to get 5 out of 5. What would you say to a man who wanted to borrow $100? Now, I don't know which of you is the most probable person to ask that question of. All right, Mr. Kieran.
Neither a borrower nor a lender be.
From?
Old Polonius, delivering a speech to his son.
Very good. That's correct. 2, what would you say to your girlfriend on handing her a box of candy? Mr. Adams.
Sweets to the sweet.
Sweets to the sweet from?
I've no idea.
I
thought I made it up.
It's a good line. It's a good line. You want to use
Sweets
that?
to the sweet farewell.
Yes.
Laertes throwing the flowers into Ophelia's grave in the last act of Hamlet.
Very good, Mr. Rathbone. Thanks so much. Now, gentlemen, what would any of you say to a pickpocket? A pickpocket. Mr. Spaeth.
Who steals my purse steals trash.
Yes, from? You don't have to give the ascription.
I'll leave the
All
play
right.
to Mr.
Do you know
Kieran.
Mr. Rathbone, by any chance?
Iago to Roderigo in the first act of Othello.
Very good indeed. Very good indeed. What would a fat girl say as she stood on a scale? The only one I can think of is that famous line from Richard III, a horse, a horse. Mr. Kieran.
Oh, that this too solid flesh would melt.
That's right. Oh, there's another line I just remembered from Julius Caesar. Did you think of one, Mr. Spaeth?
I thought of one non-Shakespearean about folding their tents like the Arabs and silently steal away.
Oh, no. I wish you hadn't remembered that. Now, I remember a line. Isn't there a line, Mr. Rathbone, from Julius Caesar called, "Let me have men about me that are fat"? Wouldn't that do? Yes, that would be very good, too. 5, what would you say if you spilled some gravy on your vest? Mr. Kieran.
Out damn spot.
That's right. 5 out of 5. Pretty good on that. The next one from Miss Rose Bigman of New York City. Bigman of New York City. You're asked to name 4 racehorses whose turf winnings have been over $300,000. That's $300,000 apiece, I suppose. That's $1,200,000. Mr. Rathbone, where have you been? Mr.
Seabiscuit?
I beg pardon?
Seabiscuit.
Quite correct. That's 1. I thought you were an actor, Mr. Rathbone. Mr. Kieran?
Sunbow.
That's 2.
Farlap.
I've got that one.
Well, you missed it.
Looks like it. That's 3. Mr. Adams, did you have one?
Man o' War.
No, that's wrong.
It's the only horse I ever heard of.
Yeah, I know. But didn't make that much money. That's 3. I've got to save that $5, otherwise that's going to Miss Rose Bigman, who has almost got it, Mr. Spaeth.
Equipoise.
Equipoise would be quite correct. Of course, you gentlemen can't name the exact sums of money that each of these horses
Well,
won.
that Farlap that you didn't have on your list, I think, won $330,000.
And 18 cents.
Yes, that's right. I remember the 18 cents part of it myself. That's 4 out of 4.
Sunbow won $380-something thousand.
$376,744. I just made it up. Oh, the next question. I've got to get these gentlemen down this evening. Next one for Mrs. C. Rollins Zane of Dover, Delaware. In what famous piece of music are we reminded of blacksmiths? In what famous piece of music? There are going to be 5 of these blacksmith questions. In what famous piece of music are we reminded of blacksmiths, Mr. Adams?
Trovator.
Yes, and what's the name of the...
The Anvil Chorus.
Yes, the Anvil Chorus. 2, who was the person in the recent news who was a former blacksmith? Oh, they're thinking on this one. You have to get them all, gentlemen. You have to get them all, otherwise Mrs. Zane gets $5. Mr. Adams.
Neville Chamberlain.
Well, I'm glad he didn't hear that.
Well, somebody like that was.
No. It would be Jimmy Hines. Jimmy Hines was a former blacksmith. Somebody ought to write his autobiography and call it Fame and Fortune. Oh, well, you let that one go. I don't care. That's one wrong. We'll hold that cash register for a moment. In mythology, who were the blacksmiths of the gods? Mr. Kieran.
Well, Vulcan was one.
Yes, in what mythology?
Well, that's in Greek.
Oh, no, it's in Roman. Vulcan in Roman mythology. And who in Greek mythology?
Well, it's the same god under a different
Yes,
name.
the same
that's
fellow
all.
doubling in brass. What's his name? Any of you remember the name? Rather odd name. Hephaestus, wasn't that it?
Hephaestus,
Yes,
that's right.
same chap. Very good. 4, in what painting? Oh, this is hard. In what painting do blacksmiths appear? In what painting do blacksmiths appear? I hope you give me the one I have down here because I don't know any other. Don't know that. The answer is Goya's The Forge. Goya's The Forge. Any of you gentlemen know that? They all seem to know it now. A look of intelligence has crept across their faces, flashed across Mr. Adams's face. 5, name a play or a picture featuring a female blacksmith. I suppose she'd be called a blacksmistress. Play or picture featuring a female blacksmith. Don't whisper, Mr. Spaeth. You are not allowed to cooperate. Mr. Spaeth.
Is it permitted to describe the play? I can't give the title, but I remember the play.
I'll give you 10 minutes. Go ahead.
10 minutes. The play was about a woman who was a blacksmith, a very strong woman, and she also figured as a wrestler.
Yes, that's
I can't
correct.
give you the title of the play. It was also made into a movie.
Swing Your Lady.
Swing Your Lady.
Featuring Louise
right.
Fazenda. Well, we only got 3 out of 5 on that. It's going to cost us $5 going to Mrs. Zane. Tripped him up in the blacksmiths at last. All right, the next one from Hilda Green of Boston, Massachusetts. I'm going to read 2 lines of 3 famous Shakespearean soliloquies. And you'll have to give at least 2 of the lines that follow each. You see, there are going to be 3 couplets, and you have to follow each one up. First, but soft, what light through yonder window breaks? Oh, you know that one, Mr. Rathbone. It is the east, and Juliet is the sun.
Arise, fair sun, and kill the envious moon, who is already sick and pale with grief, that thou, her maid, art far more fair than she.
That's very beautiful. You ought to be an actor, Mr. Rathbone. Very good. Let's take the second one. To be or not to be, that is the question, whether it is nobler in the mind to suffer. Would you like to do that, Mr.
Slings
Rathbone?
and arrows of outrageous fortune, or to take arms against a sea of troubles and by opposing end them.
Seriously, it's very, very pleasant to hear Shakespeare read well, Mr. Rathbone. We're very glad to have you here this evening. 3, tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow creeps in its petty pace from day to day. All right, Mr.
Year to
Rathbone.
year, and all our yesterdays have lighted fools the road to dusty death. Out, out, brief candle.
Very good. 3 out of 3. Thank you very much. The next one from Jessica Samuels of New York City. Name the opera that each of the following arias are identified with. There are going to be 5 of them, and you have to name 5 out of 5. And this is the big surprise this evening. Mr. Milton Cross, our announcer, is making his debut this evening as an opera singer. All right, Mr. Cross, will you give us the aria Largo al Factotum?
La 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 la.
Mr. Spaeth.
From The Barber of Seville.
Yes, by whom is that?
The Barber of Seville by Rossini.
Very good indeed. Il Balin.
Lo 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 lo
That's
lo
pretty good.
lo lo.
You've got a very appreciative audience, Mr. Cross, but they don't know the answer. How about that, Mr. Spaeth?
If nobody else wants to try it, I would say from Il Trovatore.
Yes, that's quite correct.
By Verdi.
You're in fine voice, Mr. Cross, so right ahead. The next one, Lohengrin's narrative. Let's say, that sort of gives it away, doesn't it?
You better put in the other one.
Tell you
let
what,
Mr. Adams
I'll
answer
answer
that.
that one myself. Would you like to sing it anyway,
Now
Mr.
make him
Cross?
sing it.
Oh, I'd like to hear you. Go ahead, Mr. Cross.
Well, it starts out.
La 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 la.
Lohengrin. And for Airy 2. Airy 2.
La 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 la.
Mr. Spaeth,
From Ballo in Mascara by Verdi.
give it to us in English, Mr. Spaeth, won't
The
you?
Masked Ball.
Give it to us in German. Can't do it. All right.
The Permasca de Ball.
All right, 5, Dalla Sua Pace.
La 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 la. La 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 la.
May I have that title again, Mr.
Well, now, my Italian may not be as good as
I
yours.
didn't hear
Dalla
you say
Sua
it.
Pace, would that be right?
Dalla Sua Pace?
Yeah, I think so. Approximately. Perhaps you'd rather have Mr. Cross sing it again rather
I'd
than
love
listen
to
to
hear
my
Mr.
Italian.
Cross sing it again.
Mr. Cross, you want to give us a couple of notes?
La 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 la.
Well, unless you get that, Mr. Spaeth, Miss Samuels is going to get $5. It's been worth just about $5 to listen to Mr. Cross sing, I think.
I think so. As a singer, he's my favorite announcer.
I think he's pretty good as a singer, too. That was singing you were doing, wasn't it, Mr. Cross?
I tried it.
Don Giovanni is the answer, and I'm afraid that's going to cost us $5. Is that wrong, Mr. Spaeth?
It's perfectly correct, but frankly, I didn't place it.
Didn't place it. Well, you're not infallible, are you?
By no means.
Oh, you are.
No.
The next one, from Barbara Merrick of Springfield, Massachusetts. You're asked to give 3 quotations from any author at all. Mr. Adams will stick to Shakespeare. 3 quotations in praise of love. In praise of love. Love, gentlemen, love. Mr. Adams.
'Tis love that makes the world go round.
Very good. I suppose that's in praise of it. From whom is that?
I have no idea.
Shakespeare. Have to ask two more. In praise of love. Surely you gentlemen could think of a couple of quotations in praise of love. What have you been doing all your lives? Mr. Spaeth.
There's a fairly recent one that goes, "'Twas love and love alone that caused King Edward to give up his throne." Very true. Sung in Trinidad by those
Is that
native
true?
singers, yes.
You're
And
not
very,
fooling
very
me.
popular now on a record. Oh, no.
Really?
No.
Do you want to sing it? No.
Something like
all
this.
Right, all right.
You don't- okay.
I'll accept that. Mr. Kieran.
I didn't hear what Mr. Adams said, but maybe I'm repeating it. For it is love that makes the world go
You
round.
certainly are repeating it. All right. That makes it perfectly clear. We've got that twice now. Mr. Adams,
My love is like a red, red rose.
if you like flowers, that's okay.
I like flowers.
All right, then we'll let that in. Now, off the record, gentlemen, can you recite a line which is uncomplimentary to love? This isn't part of the question, just thought of it, just to make things even. A line uncomplimentary to love. Mr. Rathbone, you have a line uncomplimentary to love? I'd hate to have you say it. Mr.
The world go round.
You're fired from this unit.
Very good.
Information, please, announces a loss so far of $10. Now we'll see what we can do in the second half of the program. Oh, here's a dandy. This is for Mrs. F.J. Jansen of Milwaukee, Wisconsin. We're going to depart from our usual formula in this one. We want you as a quartet, I am now speaking of you as a quartet, gentlemen, to sing the first line from the chorus of the following familiar songs. Now, there are going to be 3 or 4 of them. You must all be in harmony in at least 3 of the songs, 3 out of 4. Now, if you are not in harmony, you're going to lose $5. Now, I am not a judge of harmony, because I've been reading books all my life, and so I'm tone deaf, which may be a good thing, as a matter of fact. I'm going to ask Mr. Milton Cross to act as judge. And the first workout for this quartet will be from Sweet Adeline. I will give you the signal. 1,
Just
2.
a moment, Mr. Conrad. May I interrupt?
Oh, sure.
We should be given a chance to place the voices, that is, to assign the parts.
Go ahead, but do
Now,
it quickly.
Who is a bass? Frank, you're the lowest.
Oh,
voice,
he's as
aren't
bass as can be.
you? Anybody a tenor? Jack?
Yeah.
Kieran is the tenor. Are you a good lead, Mr. Rathbone?
No,
We need a lead.
no.
I'll take either the lead
You
or
take
the
it.
baritone.
Make up your mind. Make up your mind.
Will you take the
gotta
baritone?
get the song.
Can you sing baritone?
All right.
I'll be the lead. Adams is the bass tenor, and baritone, Mr. Rathbone.
Very good. Sweet Adeline.
Sweet Adeline.
How is that, Mr. Cross? I'd like to hear a little more. Yes, yes. Of course, Mr. Cross, that's where I think you're making a big mistake, but go ahead, go ahead.
Mr. Cross pitches these a bit high, being a tenor himself.
Well, we're trying to be a little unfair.
I like
You
my
don't
Sweet
mind that.
Adeline in baritone key, especially after a little while.
Oh, do you want to come back to Sweet Adeline, Mr. Spaeth?
I'd love to have it a little lower, and I think Mr. Rathbone might come in with that baritone.
Yes, come in with that baritone.
His speaking voice is so beautiful.
Yes, it is. It's very lovely. Very lovely. Hard to keep those
Sweet
gentlemen apart.
Adeline.
Very good harmony. Well, I'll call that one bad. Now, you have to get the next three. The next is Down by the Old Mill Stream. Now, do you want to start that, Mr. Spaeth? Down by the Old Mill Stream.
Down by the old mill stream.
Go ahead, go ahead.
Bum, bum.
Where I first met you.
They gave out.
Do you want more?
How'd you like that, Mr. Cross? Okay. Thank you, Mr. Cross. Sounds
more
just as
bass,
bad to
Frank.
me, but Mr. Cross, that's all right. Third, Old Black Joe.
Gone are the days when young and gay.
I'm getting used to it. All right, Mr. Cross. All right, one more. One more. I never thought this would turn out so well. Good night, ladies. Now, you have to get this quite correct.
These are all pitched too high, Mr. Adam. Let's have that a little lower, please.
Let's
That's
have a
too
low
high for
intro.
Adam.
Yeah,
Adams
low
is taking
intro.
the
Pitch
lead
it low,
this time.
pitch it low.
He can't sing bass. Once more now, then.
Adams is an alto. He's been an alto all his life.
Take the lead, Frank. Here we go.
Good night, ladies.
Go ahead.
Good night, ladies.
Very good.
Go ahead.
Good night, ladies.
I think he spoiled it. All right, Mr. Clark. 3 out of 4. Very good. Now, gentlemen, you go home and practice on Sweet Adeline this evening. As a professional hater of opera, gentlemen, I'm happy to read the following question from Mr. M.C. Fuller of Brooklyn, New York. He wants to know how the following operatic heroines committed suicide. And there are 5 of them. Not half enough, in my opinion. 1. Brunhilde from the Götterdämmerung. Brunhilde. Mr. Spaeth.
Brunhilde rode her horse into the River Rhine.
Was it the river? I thought it was the flame, not fire.
Well, into the funeral pyre, which
Flame, not,
was enveloped by the River Rhine, and therefore it was a combination of
yeah.
fire and water,
Never
than
understood how
which
I did.
there are no too sure ways of committing suicide.
Can I count on that?
All right, very good.
Positively.
Now, the next one is from, sounds like a labor union. Says here, CIO San from Madame Butterfly. Oh, must be Cho-Cho San. Cho-Cho San from Madame Butterfly. Mr. Spaeth.
Cho-Cho San committed suicide by the harakiri method.
What is that, Mr.
Stabbing herself
Very pretty.
with a knife.
Yes, very nice. 3, Aida. Aida? Any of you other gentlemen experts on suicide besides Mr. Spaeth? Mr. Spaeth? Morbid, Mr. Spaeth.
Aida committed suicide by joining her lover in the living tomb.
Oh, that's very nice, too. I like that. And,
Nice thought.
And 4, Senta from the Flying Dutchman. Senta, that's S-E-N-T-A, Mr. Spaeth?
Senta, as I remembered, threw herself into the sea.
Yes, that's very nice, too. And 5, Tosca. This gets more and more cheerful. Mr. Rathbone.
Threw herself over a battlement.
Yes, after her lover's execution. Very good. Opera seems to have a bad effect on people, Mr. Spaeth.
It always has.
Very high mortality.
Yes.
The next question. This is from Mrs. S.K. Butterworth of Douglaston, New York. Give 5 musical terms which can also be applied to baseball. 5 musical terms which can also be applied to baseball. Now, that ought to get everybody in. 5 of them. Mr. Spaeth was the first one with his hand up.
The first would be bass.
Yes. The first would be bass. I suppose that's very good. Next, have another. Mr. Kieran.
Second would be pitch.
Pitch is okay. Let's have another. Mr. Spaeth.
The third would be run.
A run? Yes, a run. Very good. That's 3. I think I'm going to ask you to give us 7. Can you think of another? Mr. Spaeth?
The word plate is used for pianos.
That I don't know. What is it in a piano?
The plate is the metal piece. At the bottom, there's a metal plate.
Very good. You play piano yourself?
It is also the word plate is also used of phonograph records.
Yes, that's
plate
right.
or platter.
Yes, very good. Yeah, platter would be a baseball
And the
term,
home
too.
plate is also known as the platter. Yes, I play a very nice game of baseball.
On the piano, yeah.
On the piano.
That's 4. Let's have a couple more. I can think of a musical, I think there's a pianist who is also in baseball. Spalding would be one. Isn't there a pianist named Spalding?
No, violinist.
Oh, violinist, yes. And he sells baseballs. Mr. Spaeth.
You could use the word stick. The stick of a conductor or of a drummer.
Yes, or baton, like a high baton average.
High baton average.
Enough of this badinage. Yes, Mr. Adams.
A catch.
A catch? Mm-hmm. Is that a musical term?
Yes, sir.
All right. Can I think of any others? Pretty good. Mr. Rathbone, did you have one?
I was asking what catch was
in baseball?
The song.
Oh, in the song. Well, they seem to know.
It's an old English type of song.
Oh, that's right. Is it like a round?
Like a round
like
or a
round.
glee. It's of that type.
It's of that type.
It's mentioned in
Shakespeare.
Twelfth Night.
And what line?
Yes.
It was only the 11th, Jack.
Well, I can't think of any other. Oh, well, battery might be one, might it not? A battery in an orchestra. Well, we've got 7 out of 5. That's pretty good. From Carl K. Bumberger, I don't know whether we'll have time to do this. Let's see if we can complete the following limerick. There was a young lady named Maud who was a contemptible fraud. She never was able to eat at the table.
But out in the pantry, oh Lord.
Very good. Well, I'm afraid that's all we have time for tonight. Information, please, seems to have lost only $10. They did very well. Next week, we'll have Mr. Adams back with us, and together with Mr. John Kieran. And our guests of honor will be 2 in number, William Bonell, motion picture editor of the World Telegram, and that distinguished publicist, journalist, and radio commentator, whose opinions are eagerly noted by millions of Americans, Miss Dorothy Thompson. And now, Mr. Cross, will you take the mic and remind our audience of the rules once more? Information, please, thanks you, ladies and gentlemen, and asks you to come again.
Thank you, Mr. Fadiman. We meet again next week at 8:30 for another battle of the public versus the experts. Please send us questions, any number of them, with the correct answers. And don't get worried if our editorial staff changes or edits your questions slightly. Remember, $2 per question used, $5 more if the board flaps on it. All questions become the property of Information Please, and send them to Information Please, National Broadcasting Company, Radio City, New York. Until next Tuesday evening at 8:30.